Hello, I'm Sonia Sage from UK Spiritual Hour, and we're beginning to see a timeline come through, a timeline possibility. Now, over the past, I would say 6 months, there has not been a clear timeline come through to all the bullshit that's been going on. We have been able to see, I would say, many psychics, many light workers, starseeds, we're able to see what is not just in front of us, but what is unravelling. There have been multiple timelines at play. There have been timelines collapsing. These timelines have to collapse for us to be able to manifest the true timeline, but also this timeline that needs to manifest very much dependent on us. It's dependent, and when I say us, I mean the whole entire world, but particularly light workers. So it's dependent on our action and our inaction. So our actions in terms of what our thoughts and our mindset is with regards to what is going on in the world currently, it is dependent on whether we physically take action to show that we are not compliant or complacent, and it is about the actions, our spiritual actions. Are we actively working to activate the planetary gateways? Are we actively working to bring through the new light grids? Are we actively working to heal ourselves and others? Are we actively working to really bring through and call in the timeline that is of the greatest good of all? Have we looked at the timeline that we wish to create and really looked at every single little part of it in detail, of what we wish this new earth to look like? What does this rebirth entail? What does it look like? And so for this to happen, if we think the current world that we live in, it is not right. There on so many levels, it is not right. When we look at race and how people are treated, it is not right. When we look at our indigenous communities and how their lands have been thieved and things like that over the past couple of centuries, good five centuries plus, again, it's not right. If we look at the distribution of wealth in the earth, it's not right. If we look at things like the trafficking, the child sex trafficking, the trafficking of women, it is not right. There is so much that is not right. If we look at the health, yes, there are things that have been there are amazing things in terms of science and everything that has evolved, and that, but at the same time, in that evolvement, so much has been corrupted and so much has devolved. We have completely, as a society, we have completely been forced, I'm going to say, even though we don't necessarily realise it in the world we live in today, but forced away from the land. If we look at healing ourselves in accordance to the earth and the cycles of the earth, this is deemed as something crazy is wrong, yet this is what we've done for centuries, up until really and truly the past 150 years. So there's a lot to look at. Those who speak the truth are either deemed as whistleblowers. The connotations between around the word whistleblower are really negative. It doesn't make any sense. Or they're called conspiracy theorists. And that made up term, that was made up in the past, say, 70 to 100 years, has been used to make people seem like they're crazy. Yet everything that is put out via media, via news agencies, is deemed as fact. Yet much of it is falsehood, and generally comes from one source who wants control. Not just control of the world, but control of your mind. So there's a lot to think about. Release that truth. What is your truth? So since May 7th, when I connected with the Earth Blueprints, I've received a lot of messages, and they've really kind of stepped themselves up again, giving me clearer timelines through. And I guess this video is going to really look at these messages, and this is stuff I should have put out 5 months ago, or no, maybe 3 months ago. Yeah, maybe 3 months ago. So this is stuff I should have really put out about 3 months ago. Don't know what stopped me. I suppose a little bit of fear. Yeah, a little bit of my own inner fear. The energy, the way this energy is at play is absolutely fucked up. So even before I have recorded this video, my camera, so anything that I've gone to do to really put my word out, there will be obstacles or distractions, interference, and this is a really big thing in terms of this, and I'll just call it dark energy for now, but this interference energy, where it doesn't, there's this not wanting you to get your words out and stuff, especially if there is an importance to them. And so it took me about an hour. For some reason, my webcam didn't want to work, and there's nothing wrong with the webcam. It took me about an hour to get this webcam to work. So anyway, we're working how it's working. And yeah, so this is just on YouTube, because anytime I try to do anything on Instagram, the phone just won't work for anything like this. So there's no point in doing any lives, and that I've literally just given up. And maybe it is as well, the whole thing of the platform being quite negative as well. So what is really, I'm going to say, exciting. I've got so many notes, so sorry if I'm not looking at the camera the whole time. So this is very much predictions for the next couple of years, and as well as predictions, these predictions come with a sense of preparation. So you're not, this isn't to kind of create fear or anything like that. It's just to give people a sense of awareness to prepare themselves, to make sure that they're prepared, to make sure that they don't fall short, to make sure that you're not too shocked at anything going on. If you are connecting, you may have had some of these messages through. I know certain messages that I've had through for the past, say, 3-4 years even, and some of which I've put out on social media, or little snippets and bits and pieces. But yeah, this is for preparation. So in terms of a new timeline coming through, even though I can't see clearly what the new timeline looks like yet, and it still won't be for a good few years, but what I was guided to say or what I was given as a message from my guides from Source Energy was 2021. 2021, it's like a real key deciding year. Now, they've given me a title, and the title is called, and I love it, the title is called Freedom Begins. Freedom begins on March the 21st. I've just said March the 21st. Okay, possibly March the 21st, which, if I'm thinking right, would be spring equinox. Okay. What I was going to say, though, was March 2021. So you don't have to hold me to March 21st, because that's literally just come out of my mouth. But I am even going to write that down for myself. So Freedom begins March 2021 and runs through to November 2022. Freedom begins does not mean that it is immediate freedom. It is a process. It's a process of greater awakening, because there's still not enough people awake. More people waking up every day, but there's still not enough people awake. And that doesn't necessarily have to be spiritually awake. Everybody is working on different frequencies, and this is something I've said many times. Everyone is working on different frequencies. Everybody has different roles to play. The main point is that all of those frequencies, even though you may not understand where someone is coming from, and that is not that what you're doing is right and what they're doing is wrong, or vice versa, it's that we're all working on different frequencies, and every role in terms of liberation, every role is equally as important. There will be some who are on the front line, and those who are on the front line, the Celtic energy is supporting you in incredible ways. They are there, they are behind you, they are supporting your fight for justice, supporting your fight for liberty, supporting your fight for truth. That Celtic energy is there, and it is there strong. And many of those of you who are on that front line, if you were to go into your hereditary, it's very much guaranteed that that Celtic energy will be running through your blood, will be running through your veins. Very much so. So that the Celtic energy is there, it's strong. There were those who are the blueprint keepers, who are here to seed that new blueprint in. And that is some really deep, key, ancestral energy involved in that. They are there to guide you. There is a lot of African energy involved in that, involved in seeding the blueprint. Everybody is working on different frequencies, and everybody has different roles to play. So yes, again, a lot of energy in terms of the indigenous, the Aboriginal energy, and that Aboriginal energy isn't just what we deem as the Aborigines. In terms of Australia, we're talking about Aboriginal energy from Africa, Aboriginal energy from India, which will be the tribes of India, not who you typically see as Indian people. It will be the Aboriginal energy from those tribes, them Amazonian tribes and things like that. So very much involved in seeding the new foundations, creating, visioning this new blueprint. Everybody is working on different frequencies. Freedom begins. The period that I am, or they have told me, to entitle as Freedom Begins runs from March 2021 to November 2022. Now, I will state that as much as people are working on different frequencies, that the end goal is the same. The end goal is ultimately the same. And those frequencies will begin to align and sing a harmonious song over the next couple of years. Over the next couple of years, we will begin to, come 2023, we will begin to hear the chords that this song creates. We will begin to hear that there is harmony in this energy, in this in the merging of the frequencies. So as much as it may feel like the frequencies are separated right now, the frequencies will merge. They will merge with love, with light, with absolute divinity, with absolute grace. Every people, every country is working to a different timeline. Some timelines will be similar, others will not. Others will be a lot further ahead, others will be a lot further behind. The outcome for the timelines associated with different countries are likely to be different. Initially, it may be that they begin to, again, this is work that needs to be done. This is where more harmonising needs to be done as it stands right now. And this is something I know I wrote about 2018, about 2 years ago. And it is you were not to be jumping over into another country's fight. You need to work with your country, with your personal ancestral energy for this lifetime. Everyone is working on different timelines, and these timelines are very much relating to the awakening and the rising of the divine feminine in those particular different structures and cultures and land. So, in terms of Freedom Begins in 2021 especially, 2021 there are going to be massive uploads of disinformation. Massive. And this is very much about the dark forces fighting for ultimate control. Now, we already see the mass disinformation that comes through, that people are so eagerly ready to receive. There will be mass disinformation. You have to check in with everything you see. So even everything I'm saying now, check in with it. Check in with your guides. See if it rings true. See if it resonates. Is there something more they have to give you? Is there something that is for you personally? Check in with absolutely everything. There will be, 2021, there will be a lot of losses across the world. There will be a lot of losses across the world. And now, many of you may have seen information come through recently in terms of the ecosystem, especially over the past, I'd say from the end of July. And I'd say a lot of American accounts coming up with stuff about the ecosystem, shortage of food, all things like that. And this is information that I received on the 7th of May. And I was told, and it's like I've really held off putting this out. And yeah, I guess kind of a bit of it is fear now. I'm hoping the stuff that I'm saying today doesn't come into fruition, but it is about being prepared. It's about being prepared. And with the message, and I'll read the message word for word that I got. They will attempt to completely destabilise the ecosystem. You need to put in your own local growth communities now. They will attempt to hit you all in a famine sense way, like what we've seen in Africa. Be prepared, 2021 is the real decider year. To live in fear and essentially allow the life force of the earth to die, and your soul and your essence to die. Or you take action without fear of consequences. You say no, and in doing so you show others that they are not alone. You show them that they can say no too. As long as you integrate crown connection into your new light body, you will always be safe. Now, going into this whole thing with the ecosystem, it's going to be different for different countries. Now, just if you look at I don't really want to even say the news, because in truth a lot of stuff isn't being shown, but if you kind of look at food, crop, if you Google things like the crop of different countries and things like that, there is a lot of crop being destroyed. So either destroyed kind of in supposedly, well, some of it in terms of natural disaster, and others check in with your guide and see why it's been destroyed. So not just crop, animals as well. So there is a lot of one of the things actually I saw for the UK, so a lot of the information I'm giving is UK specific, although I have got information for other countries as well. But one of the reports, a newspaper report I saw recently in terms of the UK, and if I'm thinking right, is the wheat harvest. It's like 40% of what it would normally be. And of that 40% that is kind of good enough to use, it's not good quality. So they need to, the UK are in this position where they will need to buy crop from either or grain from Canada, or I don't know, maybe somewhere in Europe, can't remember what country they said. And because of things like Brexit, that will then massively put the price up. Now, we don't just need flour for us to buy a bag of flour and have in our homes. And we can already see like the stocks of, there was no flour because everyone just brought it all out a few months back. So there was no flour for months, for absolute months there was no flour. And even now when you go to the supermarket, you can see that the shelves are not that full. That choice of flour that we had going back to the beginning of the year, it's not there. Those shelves are pretty empty as flour goes. But it's not just about the flour that we buy personally for ourselves. If you're looking at the UK's harvest in terms of what will produce flour, all the bread companies need flour to make bread. There'll be other food producing companies that will need flour to make things like pies and whatever food uses flour basically, will need that flour. So what you're looking at is the price quite likely going up of these products, or there being a shortage. Because if there's a shortage here, and when you look kind of across the world, there are food shortages becoming apparent everywhere, and these food shortages will come into play for next year and possibly 2022 as well. Maybe ongoing. Now, there's been massive floods in China that has affected their food production, so their crops and whatever it is they grow there, but also affected some of the factories. And if you think that things like tin, all of that stuff is made in China, so even though there may not necessarily be a shortage of the actual food that goes in tins, I don't really know, to be honest with you, but there will be a shortage of the material to make tin and things like that if there's all been issues with their factories and stuff. Where else? Loads of places. America, all the silos, or silos, I don't know how to say the word, when the derecho went through, and the crop and all things like that has been damaged a couple of weeks ago when the derecho went through, I think from mid-west to the east. If my directions and stuff are a bit wrong, I apologise, but you go and research the stuff yourself. Definitely like to get it proper down as the actual facts. Things like meat production plants in the United States are shutting down, supposedly due to COVID. And again, this is stuff that we've even seen in food producing and making kind of factories in the UK. So that's another thing. So if factories are closing down at the moment, when COVID is supposedly not that bad, for a couple of weeks, that there's an issue with production, and we don't know if this may go on longer. One of the things I literally saw, I think a day or two ago, was in Victoria in Australia. Now, if I'm thinking right, Melbourne is in Victoria. Melbourne is a place, and that whole state of Victoria is a place to keep your eyes on over the next couple of months. It's like they are the testing ground. So there's the whole stuff with how they're being locked down, which is absolutely disgusting. But in terms of the food, however many thousands and thousands and thousands of poultry has been culled because supposedly there is a bird flu outbreak there. So there are big things going on worldwide in terms of a mixture. Definitely some of them are in terms of kind of natural, you could say natural disaster, poor harvest because of the weather and whatever. And some of them are very likely instigated to implement whatever bullshit agenda that dark energy, that dark force energy is trying to literally cling on to with all their might. So in terms of the UK and food, I personally believe it, and again, it's very different. If you look at America, I think a very different situation. But for the UK, I would say that there are 4 months to stock up. I don't mean go mental like people did before, because then that leaves nothing for nobody. But there are 4 months. We've got till the end of the year, I feel, to stock up. We have until the end of the year. And then we will begin to, as we go into 2021, we will begin to see the food shortages in the shop. And if there are food shortages, that means that we're going to be limited on what food we can, the amount of food we can buy, and also what food we can access. I've been guided, I know a lot of accounts are saying to get 3 months worth of food. I've been guided to 4 months worth of food, to stock up and have 4 months worth of food. It won't necessarily be needed straight away. When did they say to me? When did they say? Can't see. Yeah, so actually, here we go. So the UK, we have this year to prepare and stock food. There are definite food shortages coming next year, and that's what I got earlier on this year. There will be a lot of hunger worldwide. This is going to be incredibly hard for many people, like really, really awful, really awful. you'll be fine though. You need to trust that you'll be fine. You need to trust that you need to be spiritually strong to ensure that you're physically strong, to ensure that you're mentally strong, to ensure that you're emotionally strong. That strength is key. And I sit here saying this, knowing that. I'm going to say I was prepared for this. I was prepared for this. Definitely in terms of different things I went through, but even at the start of lockdown, so from October basically to, I think, was it to February, I didn't have a cooker. October last year to February this year, I didn't have a cooker. And from October last year until May this year, I didn't have a fridge freezer. So I was living on cans, and so I've already gone through a period of only cooking my stuff on a little tiny 2-hob counter thingy. Haven't had a fridge to be able to refrigerate food and all stuff like that. So the universe has prepared me for this shit. If anything does go down big time, they've prepared me. And even in terms of things like the homelessness and different things I went through there, they're prepared, like, in terms of that strength, because you need to be spiritually, like, when you don't have a fridge for that amount of time, you do need to be strong, because we're so used to having these things in our lives. And actually, where am I leading on to from this? Okay, so electric. It's possible. Well, I say it's possible. Okay, so I've been shown that it will be, again, different for different countries, but from, where is it about the electric? Here we go. Okay, so UK food, 4 months of food needed, a period of no electricity for approximately 3 months towards the end of 2021 going into 2022. By the time it's done, we're going to be kind of so used to not having electricity that you won't necessarily be bothered about having it back. Everyone, like, once we're sort of out of this period, everyone will be working in a way where they hook up their own electricity themselves. So to even prepare for things like that. If you don't end up needing it, and it's even like with the food and stuff, if you don't end up needing it, give it to the food bank. And that, like, give it to those who need. Even if you don't need, but you know someone who does need, because there is going to be so much poverty. There are so many people losing their jobs and stuff like that anyway. There are going to be loads more people losing their jobs. There are going to be loads of empty buildings along the high streets and things like that, even those which are big companies. So there is going to be a, like, you think you've seen poverty now? You ain't seen nothing yet. You, like, the level of poverty is going to be something that we have not seen in our lifetimes. It's going to be bad. It's going to affect people mentally. People who've always had are going to be affected really. They literally won't have that mental strength to put up with it. Now, it is very much what there will be over the couple of years, and I see it kind of unfolding more 2022 to 23. Community life, communities starting up, communities living together, working together. I'm even getting schools through now, and I hadn't got much with schools before, but kind of, schools opening up, but real community based, a completely different way than there was before. We have to, and this I received again a couple of days ago. We have to grow our own food. It is absolutely essential. It's absolutely essential. We need to save the seeds of everything. So right now we need to be saving the seeds of everything. Right now, in terms of preparation, you need to be looking at things like harvesting water, how to kind of save your seeds and grow from those seeds you save. You need to be looking at things like solar powered electricity, absolutely everything. And this goes to the message that I just literally had continuously from August 2019 up until when the lockdown happened, and it was sustainability. They just kept saying sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. And for those of us who have had that message and not necessarily acted on it, because I can't even say, yeah, I've acted on it to be sustainable. Definitely in terms of kind of home and food and things like that, we are being guided to really, really act on it now. We at least have to, even if we're not necessarily being as sustainable as we could be right now, we have to be educating ourselves on sustainability. If you think about it, us being sustainable brings us back closer to nature. It brings us back closer to Mother Earth. It has us living in a way that isn't of detriment. It means that we are more fully equipped in terms of our mental strength to be able to stand up and say no, because we know that we can sustain ourselves. We don't need to rely on a corrupt government, whether it be personal from our country or a corrupt world, God knows what, to be able to survive. And this is the other thing, we should not even be thinking about survival. This isn't about survival. This is about sustainability. Two completely different things. Survival is 3D. Survival is what they want us to think that we have to do. We do not have to survive. We do not have to survive. Survival is all about fear. We're about being sustainable. So changing your mindset. So this, all you're preparing to do, it's not about your survival. It's about you being sustainable, you connecting with cycles on a greater level. So, what else? Okay, so also looking at 21 to 22. Okay, so this year. Okay, what's going on this year? So I got through very, very strongly. There's a date that I got through. In terms of our timeline, everybody, we all have to want it enough. And again, it's not just people who are on a spiritual journey, it's everyone. Everyone needs to want a better life, and that better life isn't things going back to normal, because that's not a better life. It's a really, really unjust life. We have to see it for what it is. With a lot of manipulation, a lot of control, lies. Like, we have to want a life that is true, that is just. We all have to want it enough. There will be many points of emotional overwhelm along the journey, but you have the power. Be continuing to do the work now to get yourself spiritually strong, so that you can navigate yourself and others through this. In terms of okay, so there's very much what I got this through on the 7th of May, and then it's kind of been reconfirmed. I don't know if it's a shift of date or more clarity in terms of the UK a couple of days ago. So October the 8th has come up massively for me. Just October keeps coming up anyway, but October the 8th massively. And basically it's a war of or on people, not military war. It's very much about unease, unrest, civil unrest, and it spreads around the globe. This spreads around the globe. In terms of the UK, what I'm getting, the messages I'm getting, is that whatever it is, it feels like in terms of, because if you think protests, amazing protests the other day, big respect to all the people who were there. You frontliners are just you're doing your thing, and the ancestors are just so proud of you and want to give their thanks and gratitude. Keep doing that amazing work. That's peaceful protest. That's not civil unrest. We're nowhere near. Well, I say we're nowhere near, but that's nowhere near civil unrest. Actual civil unrest is going to be sweeping across the world. It will hit, and we're starting to see it hit countries in Europe anyway. I say we're starting to see. The media aren't putting it out, but if you go and research, you will see it. Because I've only seen little snippets of stuff in Spain going on, and Germany's peaceful protest the other day. I'm sure they had way over 1 million people there. There is stuff going on. We're not being shown it with this complete censoring of what we're allowed to do, say, speak, listen to. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, and that alone should tell you there's a load of bullshit going on that you should not be standing for. The fact that we're being censored for saying, for speaking our truth, that tells you enough. That should tell you enough. The UK I see as things like that happening one of the last countries, in terms of, if you think about major countries in Europe, across the world even, the civil unrest, it hits the UK as one of the last countries, I feel. What I'm getting is November. This is, again, I feel this is the UK. I'm not sure if it's right across the world. November 2020, things do start to get bad in the UK. And basically, so from around November 2020, there will be no internet for 3 months. This is for control. There's riots spreading across countries, so they shut down the internet to basically try and gain control. If you think about it, when there was the BLM even protests, they spread to other countries, people in other countries, where we see on social media other people in other countries started doing their own. When the whole toilet roll debacle happened, it started off at, I think Australia's the first place we saw it, and it spread across the world. So the whole thing with civil unrest, I suppose we see it going on in other countries, and it spreads right across. Now, what, by them shutting down social media, what they don't account for is that if social media is shut down, people are able to use this. People aren't feeding into the bullshit. They're able to use this and start thinking for themselves a bit more. So what this does is it actually makes people more powerful. It makes them more powerful than dumb. And another amazing thing is, in that sense, is that what I suppose we're so used to social media now, what we forget is that however many decades ago, there was no social media. I grew up with no social media in the 80s, and there were protests and there were riots, and I was out being taken to God knows how many protests a year with my parents, with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. In the 90s, there would be protests and there would be riots, if you think poll tax and all things like that. Again, people did not need social media to go and do that. It was happening and it was powerful. So this, if the social media does get shut down, and I don't know if it will be kind of like a straight continuous 3 months, but I don't know, there's this sense of it does and then it's on, it goes down and then it's on and then it goes down, and for some reason they can't get it back up, so it's like they're it's like they're controlling it. And then Mother, Divine Mother, she steps in and says, you fucking we're controlling this shit, and it boom. Will it be back on again at some point? I feel so. Again, we'll see how it unfolds, and also it depends on how the timelines are going. It depends on what needs restructuring, what else is going on. Yes, so yeah, that's, do you know what, let me see, I think maybe that's where I'm going to leave it. I do still have loads, but that's the focus in terms of, I would say, food and things like that. The US, in terms of the US, what I am getting for the US is things are going to start getting bad September 2020. There's still going to be weather stuff go on for them. October 2020, there'll be that's when their stuff with the food will start to unfold, so a lot sooner than anywhere else initially, is what I'm picking up with the United States. Do you want me to give the message in terms of the weather? Okay, yeah, no, that's right. So everything else is for a different day. So do just be aware. Do what you're supposed to be doing in terms of what your soul purpose is. If you feel this resonates, please like, please share, please subscribe. Do check in with your own guides, with your own spirit team, in terms of the things I've said. They may have more information for you. They may have more clarity for you compared to the things that I've said. They may have something more personal for you. And yeah, freedom begins. March 2021, running through till November 22. It is the unravelling. Oh, I've just seen something else. Yes, it's the unravelling, and it will be a very difficult time for many people. Governments and elites will try to hang on for dear life. They will try to mass depopulate, and this starts winter 2020. It won't work on the grand scheme of things. Whatever it is that they're trying to do, it won't work. Let us keep that absolute blissful high frequency timeline. Let's start bringing it through. We know it takes time. We know it will take time. This world we live in currently has been created over the past, we can say easily 500 years, but massively over the past 200 years. So it can't end just like that. It has to be dismantled piece by piece, bit by bit. And then we've got to go through the birthing pains of birthing the new world into being. But I am sending you all an abundance of love, an abundance of strength. Follow me on UK Spiritual Hour over on Instagram, and I am available to do like body activations and soul purpose readings. And what else? And yeah, stay in tune for things like my meditations. I will be over the next couple of weeks doing free meditations on Zoom, which will be very much focused on us healing different elements of collective trauma that may be stored within the earth chakras. That's not made, that is stored within the earth chakras. So sending you all an abundance of love and blissful blessings. I thank you all so much, and have a beautiful week ahead.